Welcome back to yet another episode of He Said, She Said, a podcast. I am your co-host and the He Said of this podcast, Jason.
And I'm the other co-host, Lauren. And I'm the She Said.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Jason.
What's up? What's new? What's hip in the house?
Well, it's currently 1997, and
You got your acid wash jeans on?
I do.
Nice.
And I got my scrunchie.
Nice.
In my high ponytail.
We might have to cut this short because there's a new episode of Saved by the Bell on in maybe 10 minutes, so...
And we can't record it because that technology doesn't exist. So this episode of He Said, She Said, a podcast is not actually going to be about the 90s. We're going to talk about living with parents because that's a thing that we've been doing for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to whine to you about it. What are the pros? Okay, let's start positive. What are the pros of living with your parents? No rent.
I was going to say, hold on, before you say no rent, that depends, because technically we are very privileged in the sense that our parents don't charge us rent.
Yeah, I guess I was just going to base this all off of personal
experience. So yeah, let that be known, guys. This is subjective. So
yeah, this is just based on us. Neither of us have to pay rent. I have to pay many bills, but rent is not one of them.
Yes. I don't have to pay very many bills aside from my phone. I paid my registration for my vehicle. That was something. Okay,
but pros. What are some other good things? Cooked food.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't have to pay for my food that my parents cook me.
Mm-hmm.
If I want something that my parents don't have, though, I have to get it myself. But
free Wi-Fi.
Yep.
Free cable, TV, all that.
Don't use it, but yep. And I guess the knowledge that, there's someone or someones that are there to, catch you when you fall and all that stuff. Like,
there's always a lifeline. Yeah. Absolutely. That has come in handy so many times in my year of living home so far.
Like, what's an example?
Well, I mean, there was that time when I got a flat tire on my way to driving back to San Francisco to visit friends, where I didn't know what the hell to do, and so I called my mom and was like, "Mom, what should I do?" And she was like, "Oh, here, okay, let me see what kind of towing places are near you, and get on the phone with it." And so she was able to walk me through it and give me some directions. And there was the possibility that, if I wasn't able to get a tow or whatever, she was within driving distance to come, possibly pick me up.
Your mom's so badass.
Whereas, yeah, she's cool. So there was that awesome, there's knowing that you're kind of...
You have a support system.
Not always on your own. Yes.
Yeah. When I was living independently with some roommates, honestly, they told me oh, if you get a flat tire, no, I would not come pick you up, or if you had to go to the hospital, you could just call a cab. So parents won't do that to you. They won't leave you hanging.
Mm-hmm. True. although one of my roommates came through big time when I cut my finger, and he was able to drive me.
That's true. Yeah,
depends on your roommates. Yeah.
Let's hope my roommates aren't listening. Okay.
So yeah, the pros are, they're largely financial, I would say. It allows you time to kind of get yourself together and, get on your feet so that you can leap to other places.
Fly the nest.
Start living on your own.
If you will. Will you, Jason? Will you fly the nest?
You're damn right.
Okay, what are some cons?
Which leads perfectly into cons, yeah. The fact that you're never really alone. I mean, there's it's like a double-edged sword, because you have all these financial things that are kind of taken care of, or that you don't have to worry about. But at the same time, at least in my experience, it's kind of can loom over your head as a,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I do these things for you, so you can do this thing for me. So like, I mean, and I'm happy to help. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that in a like, oh, I should be getting everything totally scot free. No, but it's definitely like a,
You have to
like even
contribute.
though if I have plans, yeah, even though I want to do these other things, it's like nope, do this, do that, do that, do that.
Yeah,
And
Jason's currently
yeah,
babysitting his 4-year-old brother for the month of July as one of those things. My situation is similar, but not necessarily in the like do this chore for me sense. But my relationship with my mother is pretty deep because I'm an only child, and so we do this little dance where like we feel like we have to pay attention to each other. So in the evenings, she'll want to come and talk to me for like hours, and uh, I don't necessarily want that every evening. I just also kind of feel like I'm being really paid attention to, like too much for how old I am. I like to be alone sometimes, or I like to have the freedom to do what I want to do, but I always need to check, see what she's doing, making sure that, she's happy and occupied so that I don't have to worry
hmm
about, that aspect.
yeah, I would say, and it sounds like both of our pros and cons. Just I think all of it together, like it's the familial obligation that
Yeah.
comes with living at home.
Mm-hmm.
That's the hardest, especially if you've lived on your own for a little bit,
Yes.
even just a little bit, or because you get so used to just kind of not having not having to answer to anybody and just being like, oh, I can do kind of whatever and make my own schedule, and if I want to stay in bed until like 10 a.m., nobody's gonna really say anything,
Yeah.
or if I want to be out until a certain time or not do anything or just be by myself, I don't have to really answer to anybody. Nobody's gonna question that. But if you do that at home,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it doesn't go over as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Like if I have been like, on my computer for a while or have been reading for a while, like on the weekends, my mom will be like, well, don't you want to like go out and exercise? And I'll be like, but I'm occupied. Like I'm having a good time. Um, so yeah, familial obligation is just such a struggle, but also just learning to live with them again, because they have this image of me, and it's an image that is from, 4 or 5 years ago. It's high school me, and high school me was so, so different from who I am now in multiple
hmm
senses. Um, I'm more mature. I have more confidence, but I'm also like a lot more physically capable. And my parents are constantly mentioning like how astounding it is that I'm able to like do things. And so them having to adjust their definition of who Lauren is, and then for me, like learning to live with who they are now because they're a lot older and they're now like super hard of hearing, and so when they talk to each other, it's like yelling. And
hmm
I, just want to read before I go to sleep, but I can't because they're yelling, quote unquote yelling. They're just talking to each other really loudly. So yeah, and my house is kind of small. So it's just being able to make my own space within
Yeah.
my family is difficult.
Yeah, it's struggling with that like self identity and like just independence,
Mm-hmm.
but then yeah, struggling with independence while having to be dependent on family for living quarters
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
all that
and
stuff.
the thing is, like, I still haven't told my parents that I'm planning to move out relatively soon. So they're kind of, like operating under the idea that I will be here for like another year or so. And they're excited about that.
hmm
And I'm just like, how do you even broach the topic of like, I'm going to move out? And now you're going to have a room to figure out what to do with.
This could be let me ask you now.
Hmm.
What is I guess now that we've kind of laid out what are the problems, the pros and cons, what is some advice that you would give for like living with parents again? Or maybe I don't know, just living with parents.
Um,
Like, how do you deal?
How do I deal? Well, I have an 8-hour-a-day job, so getting out of the house as much as possible is the best way. And I do that by, going to work. So then by the time I get home, it's like, oh, it's just like dinner time. And then, there's only a couple more hours until sleep. But also, I guess I would say trying to avoid getting back into the habits that you had when you were living there previously. For example, when I think about like packing my lunch for work, it'd be very easy for me to be like, hey, dad, while you're making mom's lunch for work, will you make mine?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't, because I'm like, you know what? I'm an adult. This is a teeny tiny way that I can establish my independence, and
Yeah.
I do it. That sounds really dumb, but like just finding little way,
Yeah.
not asking too many favors, doing things for yourself as much as possible, not becoming too reliant on
Yes.
them.
Yeah. Just trying to find ways to like to keep your sanity, I guess. Like, um, I work a lot, so that I mean that alone gets me out of the house a good portion of the days. But even then, I feel like I try to do as many things as I can for me
Mm-hmm.
as possible. So whether that's I don't know, just going to a coffee shop or um, I don't know, learning something or just spending time listening to music or little things that I can do for myself that I'm like, okay, this is my time to kind of like check out for a second and like
Mm-hmm.
just like recoup because that's so necessary. Otherwise, I'm just in this constant like, it feels like an endless loop, an endless cycle that's just kind of like going, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need something to kind of help in that sense. And so little things, yeah, I guess it kind of ties into what you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
just like little things that will pick you up and just be like, this is for me.
Yeah. Another thing I've been noticing is kind of my parents establishing, their social activities separate from me, and I think that's helpful too. Like, they make plans, and I'm not invited, and that's great because that
Mm-hmm.
gives me, a night to myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, really important. Like, if you've got parents that have social lives, like revel in that time that you have to yourself. But yeah, basically
Or
just hang in there. I think it's especially hard when, like me, I don't really have a huge social life back at home. And so it's not like I can go out with friends all the time.
yeah.
So I don't really know how to counter that, but just, occupy yourself.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm fortunate in that sense, in that I have a lot of like, or at least there's a lot of people that I can contact, or like I have my friends that have been here for a while, and so they're my best friends from like high school. My
Mm-hmm.
one best friend, they're like my couple best friends that I chill with.
Yeah.
So that helps. Yeah, making time for friends.
Well, that was a great conversation. Living at home, it can be okay, but a lot of the time it's miserable. And to those of you out there who are dealing with that, hang in there. We feel your pain, and we will rejoice for you when you too are free. We're not free yet. We're gonna be free soon. If you would like to suggest any topics for us to talk about, you can submit them to our Tumblr, which is linked somewhere in the description of this podcast. We'd also really appreciate it if you would subscribe if you like what you hear, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks for listening.